Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 4th of June. And today we'll start from Kharkiv. A lot of news, a lot of updates are coming exactly from this area. More than that, these news are coming from the front line between Starosaltov and Pechenegi. Only one Russian source reports that something incredible is happening in this sector of the front line. And this is a very reliable resource of information. I have not noticed any fakes or lies behind this source in the past. If you remember, a few videos ago I told you that the Ukrainians managed to cross the Severodonetsk in the area near Starosaltov. And I told you that Ukrainians were establishing their bridgehead somewhere near town Khatomля, somewhere here. And there was a lot of discussions between the Russian sources, and everybody are saying his own vision of this situation. And I'll repeat myself, just one source are saying that there is a bridgehead in this area, Ukrainian bridgehead in this area. Nobody else can confirm this information, and more than that, other Russian sources are saying that there is nothing like this on these areas. But this source, this reliable source, has access to the intelligence information. And this source reports about the points, about the camps, about everything that is very detailed in the Ukrainian map, in the Ukrainian conflict. So I'll try to give you this information, and we will discuss and we'll try to understand, can we believe this information or we can't? Because I understand that something is happening there, but nobody's show us the real picture. Neither Russian sources nor the Ukrainian sources. First, I would like to note that this front line on this side of the river is not monolithic. And there were reports that Ukrainian forces could send some commanders and scouts to this territory, and some locals were saying that sometimes they saw the Ukrainian forces on this side of the river. And the first note about the fact that the Ukrainians managed to cross this river appeared somewhere on the 16th of May. Somewhere on the 13th of May, the Ukrainians managed to cross the river and to build some pontoon bridges near Starosaltov and near Pechenegi, somewhere here. I can't tell exactly where exactly they did this, but as far as I understand, the distance between these two coasts is around 560-600 meters. So the Ukrainians found the place with the smallest distance and built their first pontoon bridge and crossed the river. Then on the 31st of May, the engineering forces, the Ukrainian engineering forces were spotted on this side. And after that, they started to build a lot of pontoon bridges, a lot of engineering constructions to prepare the bridgehead in this area between Starosaltov, Khatomля and Pechenegi. According to this source, by the 2nd of June, the Ukrainian forces managed to establish the bridgehead and managed to establish control over this road that leads from Pechenegi, this road that leads to Starosaltov. So the Ukrainians established control over the town Khatomля, Першотравневе, Martove, Pechenegi. So this road, this area, entire area is under the Ukrainians' control. And according to this source, the Ukrainians are preparing their offensive operation towards this town, Chervona Khvila. This is the town. And this is the area where the Russians are using for their support. You see this railroad, and more than that, the Russians are using this area to repair and fix their damaged equipment, damaged tanks, damaged vehicles. So let's update this map according to this source. So this is the current situation according to this source. You see this yellow area is the bridgehead, is the Ukrainians' bridgehead on this side of the river. And they're planning to attack and start their offensive operation towards Chervona Khvila. This is the town. This is Chervona Khvila. This is the reason why the Russians started their offensive operation on the territories that they left during the Ukrainian counter-offensive operation. And today we had a report from the Russian side that the Russians managed to establish entire control over the town Ternova, this town. In the past, this town was under Ukrainians. Then they established control over Stary Saltov and crossed the river. And as soon as the Russians understood that that situation is critical, according to this source, they started their counter-offensive operation. We discussed that the Russians are moving from Ternova towards Shestakovo and Fedorovka to cut this road. We discussed this yesterday with one reason: to cut Stary Saltov and to encircle the forces that located in Stary Saltov and on this side of the river, on this bridgehead. So let's update this map one more time with the Russian information and with the Russian offensive operation. So this is the Russian offensive operation. They established control over Ternova, and now they're moving to Shestakovo and Fedorovka. More than that, these sources are saying that the Russians, as soon as they understood about the critical situation in this front line, they changed the commander of this front line, and the new commander started this operation. So the question is, can we believe this or we can't believe this? I understand that something happens. I understand that there is no reason for the Russians to start this offensive operation because less than a month ago this territory was under their control. They left this territory toward the border and now they're starting their offensive operation, and we know that there is a lack of forces of the Russians on this front line. We know that there are around 7 BTG, at least around 7 BTGs were months ago when the Russians started retreating. Maybe now they brought here some reinforcement, so we'll follow and we will try to understand if this information is true. I think that we can trust this source of information, but we'll see. If it's true, sooner or later we will understand. And we know that if both sides, either Ukrainians or the Russians, are not saying anything about some front line, then we know that something really happens on this front line. This was the situation with Belogorovka, the same situation with the Kherson, and now this is the same situation with the silence in the Kharkiv area on this bridgehead. So we'll see, we'll follow, but now we see that it's the end of the week, and I think that we need to make some goals, some projections for the next week. And I think that if the Russians started this counteroffensive operation, that means that there is some reasons. So I think that the next week the Russians will try to handle and to fix this issue. I'm not sure if they are able to push Ukrainians back. I'm sure that the Russians won't be able to do something with the forces in Pechenegi. By the way, the Pechenegi is the area I told you yesterday where was the conflict between two Ukrainian forces group in this area. So something is, the puzzle becomes more and more clear for us. And this is the goal for the Russians, to cut the road and to ruin the Ukrainian plans for the offensive operation. If we're talking about the Ukrainians, I think I'm not sure if they are able to do this offensive operation towards this town, Chervonokhvili. This is too big area, but at least they need to keep some bridgehead here and to force the Russians to move some BTG on this block, on this sector of the front line. So this is the goals for the both parties on the next week. So this is the Kharkiv area and the Kharkiv front line, the Kharkiv stories in this front line. Now let's move towards our Izyum area and our Liman area. This area is located on the south from the Kharkiv. This is the area. And we know that there are very heavy clashes. By the way, today I posted a video that the church in this area, right exactly on the hill, right exactly on the place where we discussed the Ukrainians might use and might hold their position on this area, was burned. I saw this picture, this video, how the church were burned. So this is the place, and we have some updates on this area. Let's update this map and let's discuss it. So this is the current situation in this area. You see that there are few colors. Red one is the territory that under the Russian control, and this territory confirmed by both sides. Yellow color is the territory that under Ukrainian control. The gray color, the Svetogorsk is the only town that is colored with the gray color, is the gray zone. Nobody controls this town, neither Ukrainians nor the Russians. And the red color is the territory that is under the Russian control, but the WER sources map doesn't confirm this information. If we take a look at the Russian sources map, you're going to see that Pasika, this town Pasika, is under the Russians, Sosnova is under the Russians, and Yarova is under the Russians. So these three towns, these three areas is under the Russians according to the Russian sources. And this is information according to West sources, but we a little bit update this information. So as I told you in my previous video, that the Russians were trying to, they did a small push from Yarova towards Svetogorsk. And I told you that I'm not sure about the success of this operation because of the hills in this area. This is the hills. So these are the hills. By the way, this is the church that was burned. This is the church. This church is located here. So this is the hills, and the Russians did their push, but they couldn't enter the city. They decided not to do this. And the Ukrainians from their side, they also decided to leave the town and push their forces on the hills. The Russians planned, and they thought, maybe they wanted the Ukrainians to retreat from this area entirely. But the Ukrainians, they understand the situation, and that's why they just left the Svetogorsk and established their position on the hill. And now they're waiting the Russians here. And if you remember, I told you that from my side, I thought that the better solution for the Russians would be just to push Ukrainians, and to attack from Alexandrovka towards Sosnovo, or from Pasika towards Studionok, from Sosnovo towards Studionok, just to push the Ukrainians from this area slowly, step by step. And as far as I understand, they started to implement exactly this plan, because during these days they established control over Sosnovo or Pasika. Now I understand they're fighting for Studionok, and in a day or in two we're gonna see that this town falls or something like this. But it's not so important. Studionok is not so important. The most important part is for the Russians is how to establish control over this bridgehead between Dovginka and Prishep. So the Russians needs Dovginka, Dolina, Bogorodichne, Prishep, Svetogorsk, these hills, Sidorova. The Russians need is to establish control over this territory. We know that the Russians are trying to attack Bogorodichne, but I must say that this operation is very nice, but you can't use this forest for tanks, for heavy equipment. You can't cross this forest with heavy armor, just with commanders or scouts. So that's why I'm not sure that it's possible to establish control over Bogorodichne. So that's why I understand that the Russians decided to increase their front line, to increase the area of their operation. And this is the reason why there are so heavy clashes around Dovginka, because this is the key region that opens door towards Slaviansk. So that's why I think that the next week, the Russian has the next goals to establish control over Dovginka and to cross these forests towards Dolina. So they need these three towns. I'm not sure if the Russians are able to establish control over Svetogorsk and this bridgehead by the end of this weekend, or even by the middle of the next week. But I'm sure that they need to take control at least over Dovginka and over Bogorodichne. But Dolina the same. So it's like these three towns is the key area for the Russians, and to start their offensive operation towards Slaviansk, and to give opportunity and to make more flexible the group that located in Izyum bridgehead, because we know that there are around 20 BTG in this area, and they're just staying without any job. We know that there's a lot of heavy clashes, but they're waiting for something. They can't start offensive operations towards Barvinkovo, towards Slovensk, because of this area, because of the fact that this territory is under the Ukrainians, and they can't continue if their flanks is not protected. Now let's move towards Lysychansk agglomeration. This is our Lysychansk agglomeration. More news is coming from this area, and this news is every time we have something new. For example, today, somewhere in our comments, we got information from Jason Harry. He told that the Ukrainians started their offensive operation in Severodonetsk and they pushed the Russians. And if we spoke yesterday that the Russians were controlling around 90% or 70% of this town, our friend Jason Harry told us that the Russians lost almost entire control of the town, and now they're controlling around 20% of Severodonetsk. And we see that the West Sources map has been updated. You see this map? and this news a little bit shocked me. It was very interesting, and I started to find some information more about this area. Yes, we see that the West Sources map has been updated. I found information that the Ukrainians moved here their international legionnaire, so there are a lot of foreign mercenaries. I found information in Russian Telegram channels that the Russians captured the radio conversation between the forces, and they told us, and they said that there are Polish mercenaries because they recognize the Polish language in this town. Also, they recognize the English. So, but we understand that English is international language, so a lot of guys can use English, not just the soldiers from England or the USA or something like this. So at least there are Polish forces, according to this information, some other foreign mercenaries, and the Ukrainians. And according to this morning update, they managed to do some counteroffensive operation and push the Russians from the city, like 20%, and that's it. But it's not the everything. Later this day, we got report from the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, and I published this report in our Telegram channel. And according to this report, the Ukrainians were completely defeated. They lost more than 90% of their forces in this area. And they're not just leaving this area, they're running from this area. So we see that two opposite information. The West sources are saying that they was very successful and they returned almost entire control of the town, but the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation announced a few hours ago that they managed almost destroy entire forces, Ukrainian forces in this area, and the losses is around 90%. Very interesting, but I'm sure that tomorrow on Sunday we're gonna understand everything, we're gonna see the real picture. So for now I'll keep it as is, and if the Russians are saying the truth, that means for the next week they need, if the Ukrainians were defeated as the Russians are saying, that means that they have completely established control over entire Severodonetsk. So I think that for the next week we can say that the Russian goals in this case would be to establish control over entire area, over entire part of this bridgehead on this side of the Severodonetsk river. So this is the plans for the Russians for the next week: to establish total control, to clear this area, and to start thinking how can they establish control over the Lysychansk agglomeration. But if the information that Ukrainians provided today, that they managed to push the Russians, is true, then it's totally different picture, and the Ukrainians just need to hold this area, and we will see what's next. But I'm sure that tomorrow on Sunday we're gonna understand everything and we're gonna receive more and more information. So let's wait a little bit, and we will see everything. Let's take a look at the Russian sources map in this area. There is some icons. First, this is the icons with the question mark, that there is the position of the Ukrainian forces with small arrow that are showing that they're moving. Maybe this is their counteroffensive operation. This is the mark that are showing us that exactly in this place were spotted the foreign legion with the Polish mercenaries and English-speaking mercenaries. These two icons appeared a few hours ago. This one and this one. These two icons. You see, like there is like a signal that something is happened there, and there is the word mind. And this icon shows that there is a soldier, that the Ukrainians are using exactly this place for evacuation. We can say like this. So what does it mean, mind? According to the Russian sources, the Ukrainian forces were defeated and they were retreating, but before retreating they mined this place. You see these small things, these buildings, these engineering constructions, and as far as I understand, it's something chemical. So they mined this chemical poison to slow down the Russians' attack. Maybe this is the reason why the Russians left the town. We know that there is like two options, that the Ukrainians are saying that they pushed the Russians with their counteroffensive operation, that the Russians were forced to leave the town. The Russians are saying that the Ukrainians were completely defeated. Also, the Russians are saying that this chemical poison stuff were mined. Maybe this is like the puzzle. So the Russians understood that these things are mined, and they ordered their forces to retreat, because if these things were destroyed, I must say that entire Russian garrison in this area could be killed with this poison. So maybe this is the puzzle of the same picture. But by the evening, we know, and according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, we know that the Ukrainians were defeated and they mined this chemical poison thing. So we'll see, we'll follow, and we will understand what is going on there. More than that, if you see, this chemical stuff is under entire Ukraine artillery control. So they can blow this area anytime they want. Anytime. So this is very interesting, and we will follow. So today we discussed the Izyum area, Kharkiv area, Lysychansk agglomeration area. This is Kharkiv area about the bridgehead. These the goals of the Russians in near Slaviansk bridgehead. The poison and chemical stuff in Lysychansk. Tomorrow we will try to determine the Russian goals and to project their movements the next week. There is a Vrubivka. There are very heavy clashes there. Toshkivka. I think that sooner or later Toshkivka falls. There is Bakhmut, and the Russians are moving toward Bakhmut. They are trying to block this town. There are a lot of towns, a lot of interesting things, and we will discuss them tomorrow. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, and enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.